The moment the client asked that question, everything stopped. Client off screen. Wait, these aren't the designs we reviewed. Where's Ethan? We want the original designer. Ethan VO. Nobody in that room moved. Melanie's face froze. The VP stared at the floor. My name had slipped out loud, and it hit harder than any promotion ever could. Ethan VO. My name is Ethan Reyes. I'm 33 years old. I live in Seattle, and for the last 8 years, I've been a senior product designer at a mid-sized tech company that makes smart devices. I've always kept my head down, let my work speak for itself. I never chased credit, never cared for the spotlight. I love the process, the building, the testing, the long hours of watching an idea come to life. And then came Melanie. She joined 2 years ago. Younger, confident, smart. I won't take that away from her. But she was ambitious in a way that never sat right with me. Still, I helped her. I mentored her. I even let her present some of our shared work because I believed in team growth. But slowly, she started editing my slides before meetings. She'd accidentally remove my name. She'd present ideas I'd shared with her in private brainstorming sessions as if they were her own. Ethan VO. 3 months later, she was promoted. They called her the rising star of the company. Said her creativity had saved the firm's biggest product launch. And me? I was told to keep supporting her, as if I was just a footnote in my own designs. Pause. Soft breath in. Ethan VO. But here's the thing about truth. It's not loud. It doesn't beg to be noticed. It just waits, patient, calm, and devastating. Ethan VO. So when the client looked around that conference room and asked for me by name, I didn't have to say a word. The silence did it for me. For the longest time, I thought I had found my place. I wasn't rich, not even close, but I woke up every morning excited to work. Designing products wasn't just a job for me, it was something I loved. Turning sketches into real devices that people used in their homes? That meant something. I worked long hours, often skipped vacations, and missed a few birthdays, but I didn't mind. My team respected me, my managers trusted me, and I was told more than once that I was next in line for lead designer. That kept me going. Then came Melanie. She was hired during a wave of fast recruitment after our company landed a new round of funding. I remember her first day clearly. She walked in with sharp confidence, red lipstick, and a thick portfolio that she said she'd built by hustling through nights and no's. I liked her. Everyone did. She asked the right questions, worked late, and genuinely seemed to care. When my manager asked me to mentor her on the side, I agreed without hesitation. At first, it felt good. I enjoyed showing her how we handled ideation sprints, how we did early-phase prototyping, how to navigate the politics of design meetings. She listened, took notes, even brought me coffee sometimes. She called me Sensei as a joke. I called her Padawan. It was light, comfortable. Over time, I started looping her into my projects, letting her handle small parts of the user flows, write interface copy, or manage asset handoffs to dev. I didn't mind when she presented on my behalf once or twice. I was working on the back-end flows anyway. We were a team. That's what I believed. But then little things started happening. Our presentation decks would go out with just her name. I'd notice her making edits without telling me, tweaks that changed key messaging. I once overheard her taking a call in the break room, referring to a product I had built from scratch as my concept. but I shrugged it off. She was probably just nervous. Or maybe it was a slip of the tongue. Still, the compliments started pouring in, for her. Managers began pulling her into meetings I wasn't invited to. Clients began associating certain designs with her face, even when the work had my initials on the layers. And one day, during our company's weekly town hall, the CEO held up our latest product and said, "This right here is Melanie's genius at work." I clapped. Everyone clapped. And I smiled, but something cracked inside me. I told myself it didn't matter. That maybe recognition wasn't everything. That I still had my job, my role, my paycheck. But the truth? It did matter. Because I was slowly being erased, one slide deck, one meeting, one compliment at a time. And the worst part? I didn't know yet that the real betrayal hadn't even started. After that town hall, something in me changed. I didn't say anything out loud, but I started noticing everything. Every meeting Melanie walked into without me. Every time she forwarded an email without CCing me. Every time she claimed an idea I'd casually sketched on a whiteboard weeks earlier. I kept my face neutral, my tone professional, but inside, I was documenting it all. It started small. I opened our shared design files and saw version histories that didn't match. Assets I had created were renamed and re-uploaded under her folder. Slides I had built were exported and presented under her login. She wasn't stealing my work all at once. She was bleeding me out slowly, a pixel at a time. The others noticed too. I could see it in the way our junior designer, Jordan, hesitated when handing her updated mock-ups. Or how our product manager, Asha, avoided eye contact whenever I walked into the room after a client pitch. No one said anything, but the silence was louder than any admission. Then came the promotion. I wasn't told in person. I found out from an internal Slack message congratulating her on being promoted to Lead Designer, Product Innovation. That was the title I was promised 6 months ago during my performance review. The same title they said I was on track for. Just a few more deliverables away. They didn't even mention me in the announcement. That night, I stayed late in the office. I sat at my desk long after the last light went off, staring at the glowing monitor. I opened up our cloud archive. Every prototype, every email thread, every timestamped Figma file from the last 12 months. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even hurt. I was just quiet. But I knew something wasn't right when I saw the pitch deck for our biggest upcoming project, a $2 million smart home product launch. And it had her name on it, but it was my design. Every line, every layout. Even the interface animation I'd built frame by frame in After Effects at 3 a.m. last month was in there. Only now, it had a different file name. And she was presenting it, solo, to the client next week. I didn't tell anyone. Not yet. I just sat there in that dark office, fingers hovering over the mouse, listening to the quiet hum of the air conditioning and the faint buzz of fluorescent lights. I took a deep breath, clicked, download all, and started building my own folder, quietly, methodically, without a single word. Because if they weren't going to give me credit, I was going to make sure the truth gave it to me instead. It was a Friday evening, the kind where everyone's rushing out early, already half checked out for the weekend. I was still at my desk, finishing up some back-end cleanup work, when Jordan, our junior designer, stopped by. He looked uncomfortable, like he wasn't sure if he should say anything. He muttered, "Hey, just so you know, Melanie's doing an interview with Tech Horizon Weekly tomorrow. She's doing a full feature on the new product line." I paused. That wasn't just any tech blog. Tech Horizon was the industry publication. Getting a feature there meant national exposure and solidifying her as the face of our department. She hadn't mentioned it. No one had. But somehow, everyone already knew. That night, I found the interview when it went live online. I remember sitting on my worn-out couch, still in my office clothes, holding my laptop like it might explode. The headline read, "Melanie Tran, the design mind behind this year's smartest innovation." And there it was, paragraph after paragraph of her describing her vision, her creative direction, and her solo process. She mentioned a team, vaguely, never by name. And when the interviewer asked her directly, "Was there anyone else who helped shape the core functionality?" she laughed and said, "I mean, I had support, of course, but this one was all me." That one line, it hollowed me out. Not just because it was a lie, but because it was said so casually, like I was just a footnote in someone else's legacy. I stared at the screen for a long time. I didn't feel rage. No screaming, no smashing the laptop. Just a deep, dull ache, the kind that makes you sit still for hours without realizing it. That was the moment. The moment I knew she wasn't just ambitious. She was calculated. And she had no problem erasing anyone who stood in the way of her narrative, not even the person who taught her everything she knew. I didn't sleep that night. I opened every backup drive I had, every old folder, every meeting recording and Slack transcript. I started organizing, not out of revenge, but clarity. Because the next time someone asked who designed our flagship product, I wanted the answer to be undeniable. I didn't cry that night. I started planning. That weekend, while most people were out drinking or scrolling through brunch pics, I was at home with 3 monitors, a pot of black coffee, and a simple goal: document everything. I started with the cloud backups. Every Figma file had timestamps. Every email had metadata. Every Slack message was archived. I had 8 months' worth of clean, traceable proof that the design, structure, animations, even the naming conventions for the product, came from my files. My initials were embedded in layer titles, design tokens, and early-phase mockups. Even Melanie's presentation decks had leftover internal notes I had written in comments, still marked with ER. Next came the pitch recordings. Our client meetings were always recorded for internal review. I rewatched 3 of them. In every single one, it was me speaking, me walking them through the features, answering their technical questions, sketching wireframes live while she mostly nodded and smiled. And now she was the creator? I don't think so. Then I found something even better, a Google Doc titled Project Vision, Final Version, in our shared folder. She had edited it after I handed it off, changing only the name at the top. The rest? Word for word mine. That's when I contacted an old friend, Toby, a freelance copyright consultant I'd worked with back in college. I sent him the files. Every document, every draft, every version history. He took one look and said, "This isn't just unethical. This is legal theft. You own this design unless you signed something giving her sole credit, did you?" I hadn't. And the company hadn't either. Toby helped me draft a secure, time-stamped affidavit of ownership and suggested I prepare for 2 outcomes. Either the company would fix this internally, or I'd need to go public. But I wasn't done yet. I reached out, quietly, to the client. Not through official company channels. I sent a polite, professional email from my personal account. Subject line: Design Origins, Clarification and Transparency. Inside, I simply said that I had been deeply involved, from concept to execution, on the product they were about to invest millions in. I attached a private PDF. Inside that file was a breakdown of every step I took in building the product, along with version history screenshots, timestamps, meeting clips, and a link to my original sketches, all dated months before Melanie ever touched the files. 2 days later, the client replied, one sentence. "We would like to schedule a meeting with you." That's when I knew. She thought I'd never speak up. She thought I'd stay in the background forever. She forgot one thing. I build systems for a living. And this time, I was building one she couldn't hack. The day of the client presentation felt like any other on the surface. People were smiling, sipping coffee, joking around the conference table. But underneath it all, tension buzzed like static electricity, at least for me. I wasn't even invited to the meeting. Melanie had made it clear she'd be handling the pitch solo. "It's better for consistency," she said in a company-wide thread. She wore a power suit that morning. Walked in like she'd already sealed the deal. The execs were all there, our VP, the CEO, even a board member. She stood at the front of the room, her slide deck queued up, product prototype on the table, the company logo on the wall behind her. All eyes were on her. Then the client arrived. They were quiet at first, respectful. They shook hands, sat down, smiled. Melanie started her pitch. It was polished, confident, almost robotic. She talked about her design principles, her creative risks, her innovation process. Not once did she mention me. Not a single nod to the person who had built the product she was presenting. But then, about 7 minutes in, the client's lead rep, a sharp guy named Ron, raised his hand. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, looking right at her. "Can I ask, where's Ethan?" The room froze. Melanie blinked. "Ethan?" she asked, trying to keep her voice even. "Yes," Ron said. "We reviewed his early design notes. We'd like him here for the technical Q&A." There was a long pause. Long enough for heads to slowly turn toward the VP. The VP looked confused. Melanie looked like someone had just pulled the floor out from under her. And then, I walked in. I'd been waiting just outside the door, per the client's request. Dressed in quiet gray, holding a folder in one hand and a flash drive in the other. No drama. No announcement. Just me, calm, prepared, and no longer in the shadows. I nodded to the client, shook Ron's hand, and opened my folder. Inside were 12 pages of documentation, proof of authorship, design progression, internal email threads, and version control logs. I handed it to Ron, then inserted the flash drive into the projector. The screen changed. A timeline appeared, showing every phase of the design process, from paper sketches to high-fidelity prototypes. Each one marked with my initials. Each one backed by timestamps. Melanie tried to say something, but no one was listening. Ron simply turned to the CEO and said, "We'll be continuing this project with Ethan moving forward." That was it. Melanie didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just sat down. Quiet. Hollow. The way I had sat quietly for months while she erased me, piece by piece. Later that week, the company announced an internal restructuring. Melanie's name was gone from the org chart by Monday. I didn't ask questions. I didn't need revenge headlines or LinkedIn drama. The client signed a private contract with me directly. I left the company a month later. Higher pay. More freedom. No more shadows. And I didn't say a single bitter word. Because when the truth walks in, it doesn't need to shout. It just has to show up. It's been a little over a year now. My life looks different. Quieter. Calmer. I wake up without dread in my chest. I brew my coffee slow. I walk my dog before sunrise. No pressure to prove myself. No scramble to be seen. I work directly with the client now, the same one who asked for me by name in that conference room. We've built a small but brilliant design team. No politics. No egos. Just honest, inspired work. I take fewer meetings. I design more. I sleep better. As for Melanie, I don't know where she ended up. I never checked. I never needed to. Whatever happened to her career after that fallout, I left it behind me. Same way I left that company, that old title, that old version of me who stayed quiet too long. And I've thought about all of it, a lot. The betrayal, the silence, the years I spent building things only to watch someone else walk away with my credit. But the truth is, I don't regret any of it. Not the teaching, not the mentoring, not even the quiet, because it taught me the most important thing. Some people build their careers on stealing credit. Others build it on doing the work. She climbed fast, but I built slow. And the thing about slow work? It lasts. If you've ever been overlooked, erased, or quietly pushed to the side, I want you to know your time comes. Maybe not loud, maybe not when you expect it, but when it does, and the truth finally stands beside you, no one can take that away again. She took the spotlight, but I kept the substance. And in the end, I didn't rebuild for her. I didn't even rebuild out of revenge. I rebuilt for me. If this story hit you deep, share it with someone who needs to hear it. You never know who's quietly building something worth fighting for.